Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Tim Fortier. I'm the Communications Coordinator with New Hampshire Municipal Association. We thank you for joining us for this 2023 webinar series. Today's presentation is how to stay out of the principal's office. This is a presentation from Dirigo Safety, and the primary contact person for me over the past several weeks in organizing this has been Dr. David Ferland, or Lou, as many of you may know him. He was a police officer with the 110-person Portsmouth, New Hampshire Police Department for 30 years, and he finished off his career as chief of police there. He's a professor who consults and presents college-level criminal justice courses. He was the National Executive Director of the United States Police Canine Association, and now serves Dirigo Safety as New Hampshire Consultant on Police Policy, Training, and New Hampshire Police Administration. With that, I'd like to introduce you to Lou Ferland. And Lou, thank you for joining us today. Hope you'll take the time to introduce your other presenters here with us. But the floor is yours for the time being.
Well, good morning. Good afternoon, everybody. And Tim, thank you very much for this opportunity to reach out to some of your members and to let them know what we are about and to see how we might be able to help their municipality, their police departments, with their policies, with their training and overall management, so that they can get on to the matters of leading their cities or towns or leading their departments. But first, I want to introduce to you a person that I've worked very closely with. His name is Adam Gormley, and he is the Risk Management Solutions Manager for Dirigo, with over 30 years of state law enforcement experience. Adam retired in 2021 from a command staff position as lieutenant responsible for managing the Southern Division of the Maine Warden Service. And he's going to talk a little bit about what Dirigo is and who we are, where we are, and how the heck we came into New Hampshire. So Adam, would you mind taking it from here?
Awesome, Lou. Thank you. Well, as Lou said, again, my name is Adam Gormley. And just give you a little brief history of what Dirigo Safety is. Our CEO and leader, Scott Maddox, was a Portland police officer and retired as a sergeant there. In 2016, Scott was an OUI guy. He really was into alcohol-related enforcement. So he wanted to manage some of the federal dollars that were coming into the state for alcohol-related enforcement. They needed a lawyer, so Scott went and got his law degree. After that, Dirigo Safety was born. Scott began managing that grant. Peers and confidants suggested to Scott that, you should offer some training. It's well needed in the police field. Fast forward, Sean O'Leary comes to work. Scott partners with him. They build an award-winning program that develops police development, policy development, accreditation processes, and many other services that Sean will be bringing back to you a little bit. Fast forward, we realized all these successful programs in helping police departments and accreditation really weren't just relevant to the state of Maine. So with that, Lou, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'll be back to talk in just a second.
Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about the move to New Hampshire. First off, Dirigo caters to the smaller agency. We're trying to fill the void in New Hampshire with policies that are too expensive to get, with policies that don't include New Hampshire procedures that are not specific to New Hampshire. And that's exactly what Dirigo does for Maine. And that's why they have so many Maine agencies that are part of Dirigo Safety, that they manage their policies, they manage their accreditation, they do most of their online training and in-person training. So Dirigo brought that same model into New Hampshire roughly last summer. They brought me and Rick on board. I'm going to introduce to you Rick and Sean later, but they brought Rick and I on board to help transition into New Hampshire. So far, we have 2 police departments that are with us, that are working on their policies for the expected state accreditation that seems to be moving this year into 2023. I understand the governor just appropriated some more monies for the state accreditation process to continue. So we are working already with 2 police agencies to updating their policies and to make sure that they are going to be good to go for the upcoming state accreditation process. We've already done 3 in-person trainings, and we have 7 more scheduled. 2 of them are coming up. One's going to be death and homicide investigations in Portsmouth at the end of March. And then there's a first line supervision class coming up to Campton. We have 4 places that we train right now in New Hampshire, all spread out throughout the state, to try to make it easier for the smaller agency to be able to send their police officer or their employee for just the day. So there's no overnight accommodations. It's close by, and it's something that the agency needs. We already have written 100 specific policies for New Hampshire. Now, other groups are out there that will sell you policy, but they won't sell you the procedures because they're not specific to New Hampshire. They have boilerplate policy, but ours is not boilerplate. Obviously, it includes boilerplate language because some of it is national standard, but it also has those specific things. For example, it has the specific online screens that you have to go to for search warrants or Gersten affidavits and things of that nature. So we are making it New Hampshire specific, and we are working on including the policies and the procedures. So at this point, I'm going to return back to Adam because I want Adam to talk a little bit about the municipal side of life. I just gave you a quick bite about the police side, but Adam's specialty is the municipal side of life. All those other things that city managers, town managers, administrators, all have to be concerned about running the whole town. So Adam, I'll turn it back to you and let you talk a little bit about the risk management solution side.
Awesome. You know, one of the things here at Dirigo Safety is our goal, and it's really to help organizations. And we've said this and we mean it. We don't build contacts and customers, we build partners and relationships. That's important to us. Back to a little bit of the history. Our company, fast forward to 2021, we're doing great on the police side. We decided that a lot of what we know and teach really can be applied to mainstream America. 2021, Scott hires me, I hang my gun belt up, and we launched the private side of Dirigo Safety. Today, we're just moments away from completing a rework of our private side of the company. We're going to be launching that here in just a few weeks, and that's going to be Dirigo RMS, Risk Management Solutions. It's still the same company. It's just a different look and a more distinct umbrella, allowing us to focus on the needs and solutions of non-police organizations, such as the municipalities, other businesses, corporations. Our RMS mission statement talks about helping companies, helping municipalities and organizations tackle some of the problems and risks that they face. You know, and how do we identify those vulnerabilities? And what is a vulnerability? And then we can put in reasonable solutions that help minimize your risks. I want us to think just for a second about those vulnerabilities. And I'm going to unpackage a few things for us. But if we go back one, Lou, when we're thinking about risks, I want us to think about what we expect and then what actually happens, and that distance in the middle. Because some of the vulnerabilities that we face are alcohol and drug impairment in the workplace. With the liberalization of marijuana and some of the other drugs and alcohol, many of our employees are coming to work high under the influence of drugs and alcohol. If we're not doing anything about it, it creates a huge vicarious liability for us. One of the courses that we offer allows us to come teach your supervisor and your staff what to look for. How do you actually navigate some of the legal issues? And what does it actually result in? And what can you do as a manager? Some of the other vulnerabilities that we look at are conflict in the workplace. I loved the keep out of the principal's office, but how many times are we faced with, especially as public servants, that demand and that expectation that that we're just to drop everything and result to working for people in our towns or on our area of responsibilities? How do we train our staff to let those insults fall right to the floor? How do we train them to redirect thought process? Can we actually look for behavior ahead of time and redirect it where it needs to go? Most of us were promoted to supervisors because we were really good at what we did. We actually probably can make widgets better than the people that we're supervising, because that's why we get hired. But somewhere along the way, our training to be a supervisor fell off. We didn't have the time, the money, and we're left with our supervisors with effectively no training on what to do. How do we train your staff to become an empathetic leader? How do we train them to manage themselves? What's the difference between power and authority? What is imposter syndrome, and how do we navigate those things so we can get the most out of our employees? They're not towels. They're not to be wrung out. How do we work with them? One of our other classes that we teach, and the television has been our best advertiser, the active threat response. What do we do when an active shooter is in our workplace? What do we do with an active threat? How do we prepare? Everyone knows run, hide, fight. At least we've heard some of it. Our classes dive into what do we do with that and how do we prepare? What is it that we can do? Super important in today's society. You know, one of the last things I want to talk about is the on-site security assessment. How do we know what your vulnerabilities are if we haven't taken a look at the whole operating procedure? This process gets into a visual inspection of what your entire operation is, from the physical grounds to your policies, camera locations, what are your expectations, who has access, and it tries to highlight the vulnerabilities to you and your team that we can start plugging some of those holes. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Lou, and we'll be available for some questions. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. And let me take myself off of mute. And I want to introduce to you my compadre here in New Hampshire, Rick Stillman. Rick Stillman is a 40-year veteran of municipal policing, 20 years as chief of police, a graduate of the FBI National Academy. He served on the International Association of Chiefs of Police on their board of directors for 5 years. Representing police departments of less than 15 or fewer sworn police officers. So Rick brings a great deal of experience, not only just with municipal policing, but also small town policing and how to best bring that. So I'm going to turn it over to Rick so that he can discuss a little bit about some of the police services that are being offered here in New Hampshire. Rick?
Got to find that unmute button. Thanks for coming. Really appreciate your attendance here at this webinar. So Lou and I have been working pretty diligently for the last 7 or 8 months on getting specific policies for New Hampshire. You know, it's been a bit of a challenge, but we've managed to come up with about 100 policies that we can use that are very specific to New Hampshire and that we use in New Hampshire. But I want to point out that, you know, we work really hard to make sure that these policies are unique to the community we go to. So when we first work with a police department, we're spending a lot of time with the chief and his people or her people to make sure that the policies meet their needs, meet the community's needs, and we make those policies unique to that department. So that's really important to us. It's what we can do for local departments, and it's a very affordable way to go about doing it. All our policies include the best practices and New Hampshire RSAs, and also we try to make sure that we include, which we really should include, the New Hampshire accreditation standards in all of our policies. And the chief obviously can decide to make a policy more stringent or less stringent, whatever he wants, but it's important we meet those basic standards initially. But again, we try very hard to make sure that we're we're meeting the community's needs and the department's needs. And the goal would be that we could reach state accreditation. So once the policies are in place, we make sure that the department understands what they need to do to meet the state accreditation, and we work with them to make that happen. So, there's been a lot of talk about de-escalation, use of force, duty to intervene. Those are hot topics on the news all the time. A recent one, the Memphis thing about foot pursuit. Does your department have a policy on foot pursuit? Well, yeah, we have a policy for foot pursuit. So we're really on the cutting edge of what we're doing here. Lou and I have extensive experience in municipal policing, so we're very happy to work with the department and make that happen.
Thank you, Rick.
Yep.
Thank you, Rick. And one thing I want to add on is we know that a lot of our smaller agencies, the chief of police is an active patrol officer as well. They are out there patrolling the streets, and they really like our services because we take that paperwork part away from them, the policy parts away from them, and how to manage that and how to make sure that they are getting the best current industry standards or legal standards as to how that police agency should be operated. So, and that frees them up to be able to do leadership, to find new recruits, to fill vacancies, to perhaps provide some in-person training, all those other things, so that they're not sitting behind a desk trying to craft their own policy that may or may not conflict with industry standards or New Hampshire standards. They don't have to do that. We do that type of work for them. We also help them with online training. We help them with what mandatory training hours they need to have in order for their police officers or their employees to maintain their certifications. We understand the public budget as well because we live them. So we have very flexible programs for these agencies to spread the costs out over several years or have subscription type of programs so that it's very affordable for the smaller municipality to be able to afford this type of a service. And most important, we scale it to the size of the department. A Manchester obviously has different capabilities and has different resources than, let's say, a Campton, New Hampshire would have. They're just different, but nonetheless, they still have the same amount of responsibilities. And one thing I am finding out is, police officers really want to do the right things. They want to have good policy so that when they go to a call for service, they know how to act. They know that they have to do A, B, C, and D. It's spelled out for the police officer to perform well. And if they perform well, which is what they want, then we know that the culture is good within the agency. We know that it's an easier leadership type of thing. There's less complaints about the municipality. There's less lawsuits about the municipality. And if we have good policy, gang, for leaders, it's easier for us to be able to either compliment performance or reprimand performance, maybe change it, maybe keep it going, but it's easier for us to be able to manage the difficult employee, the employee that is on the edge, how to do that. Do we continue to provide training, remedial training? And if that's not working, what are the next steps for us to make sure that we truly have the right employee working for the department? And lastly, this whole state accreditation that's coming about, I'm already hearing buzz about maybe some lesser insurance premiums for the accredited department. Now, there's accredited departments out there, right? But they are very costly in order to achieve those type of accreditations. This statewide accreditation is proving or has the possibility of being something that's really sizable for the smaller agency. So anyway, I want to move along, and I want to introduce to you Sean O'Leary. He's going to give us the executive summary of what we just had. Sean O'Leary has over 36 years of municipal law and county law enforcement executive experience, retiring as chief of police in Winslow, Maine. And I'm wondering, Sean, if you can kind of bring us home on this and
Absolutely. Thank you very much, everybody. To review, our motto, like Lou said, is we fill the void. We saw our void as law enforcement leaders and managers in Maine. And because of Scott's initiative, developed a Dirigo Safety. And he brought us along to really fill in those voids that Maine law enforcement had. And now we want to be able to fill those voids in New Hampshire. Whether it's law enforcement or RMS, we have the subject matter experts, but we also have the subject matter experts specifically for New Hampshire, which I think is very important because Rick and Lou have lived, worked, and fully understand the culture of New Hampshire. We understand that New Hampshire has several smaller to medium-sized agencies, and that funding is not always plentiful. But these same communities, these same small and medium-sized communities, like their larger communities, still have to deal with the same issues. They still have to deal with lawsuits, citizens' complaints, employee complaints, or other common issues that that everybody deals with. So the size really doesn't matter when it comes to the community. This is where Dirigo fills the void. We provide affordable services, and I think that's really key because we are a small business and we understand budgets, like Lou said. We've proven ourselves over and over in Maine and actually throughout the country. We've had several contracts in other states dealing with their specific problems. But please understand this, and this is really, really important. We are not a juggernaut company. We are not a traditional company that solely focuses on profits, believe it or not. It's kind of funny that when we deal with clients, when they sign a contract, at the end of the contract or through the contract, they always say, boy, your staff does more than what they're actually getting paid for or what they're being contracted for. And I think that's where it comes down to our personalities, because everybody at Dirigo Safety came from the public service market, either law enforcement, warden service, or family members. My daughter also works for us. So that is really ingrained into us, is that we're here to provide services. It's really hard to break our mentality of always providing guidance and recommendations, because good or bad, we've experienced everything. We've experienced critical incidents. We've experienced employee problems, disciplinary, recruiting issues, the whole gamut. Dirigo Safety, or the members of Dirigo Safety, has really experienced that. On behalf of our family, because we consider our company more of a family than a company, on behalf of Dirigo Safety and the entire family, we just want to say thank you very much for providing us this time to explain who we are, what we can provide, and we all really look forward to hopefully working with all of you in New Hampshire. Thank you, and I hope you have a great day.
Well, thank you, Sean, and I'll go right down the line. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Lou, and thank you, Rick. Certainly appreciate you introducing Dirigo Safety to the NHMA membership, and as well as to the New Hampshire Municipal Marketplace. As you can see, the email addresses are up on the screen now. I will be putting this presentation into a YouTube link, be sending that out to you all by the end of this week. They will also include the email addresses of our 4 presenters, so you're at liberty to reach out and contact them at any time that you wish. We hope that you'll take this presentation and share it with our municipal colleagues who could not attend this presentation live. So again, thank you to the folks at Dirigo Safety, and have a good year. I hope you find good business opportunities here in New Hampshire. And with that, I'd like to thank our members for joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you all.